This is Midday Mobile with Sean Sullivan on FM Talk 106.5.
Welcome back to Midday Mobile on FM Talk 106.5, and good to get Nicolette Harvey from AltaPointe back in the studio. Problem is, seems like when I'm calling Nicolette to come on, it's another tragedy out there, but I'm glad to have you here, and hopefully people get some recommendations here, can help them themselves and with their family, talking about another mass shooting.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sean. Hopefully one day I can come back under better circumstances.
Talk about something fun, but
yeah, happy to be here.
Last time we talked, it was this discussion of what, number one, do we say anything to our children? Mm-hmm. It was in the aftermath of Uvalde. Mm-hmm. Now we have the Independence Day shooting. First of all, is there an age group in what you do in your profession where you wouldn't address it with children, like not even mention it?
And we talked a lot last time about you being the expert on your child. So I think we're going to go back down to that road. Just to you're aware of what your child intakes. You're aware of what they're exposed to. You're kind of more aware of what's regular for them and what's not regular for them.
Right.
And you have to monitor that as a parent. If you have a child that has sleep disturbances or seems overly anxious or is having problems eating or is having behavioral problems where they weren't once before, maybe that's time to assess, is there something they've heard that I need to address in regards to the younger children? For the older children, I think that we're all inundated with media and news and social media at this point. So it is recommended that you go ahead and take that ownership of your family, that ownership of that communication, so you can make sure that they get a message of understanding that there are good people here to support and help you, that your parents are here, that, these things happen, but you're still safe, and here's the reasons why.
And so this idea that there's going to be, if we're going to wait around for the child or the teen or the preteen, whatever, to come up and say, hey, mom and dad, hey, parent, that thing that happens really disturbed me and has caused me to, have it. Probably they're not always going to address it that way. You're going to have to suss that out yourself.
Right. You're the adult, so you usually take the lead in the hard things, right?
Right.
Like, we don't depend on our preteens and our teenagers to do the hard things. We
or anything,
any laundry,
yes.
Anything. So you're the one that should take the lead in kind of steering that direction, making sure that you have open conversation with your child at all times. That starts when talking about things that seem mundane, listening to them when they're talking about Madden or they're talking about Pokemon cards in my situation. And so that'll open up for better lines of communication. And then you take the lead in regards to dealing with difficult topics, whether it's mass shootings, whether it's dealing with COVID. We've all had a couple years of difficult topics with our kids lately.
You deal with this, and you deal with this as your job. Are you seeing people coming in to you that have these things unresolved? They have, like, you're talking to them, they've got some issue, and you find out it is related to what goes on in the world around them. Is that
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Especially with the older kids.
Okay.
You see children, I see children every day in the mental health world and in community mental health and the psychiatric hospital where I work, that have had tremendous experiences in their lifetime.
Yeah.
And so when they hear about things on the news, when they read about these mass shootings, when it's all over social media, that can be very triggering for people that have already experienced gun violence in their life, already experienced loss, already experienced trauma. So definitely these type of scenarios can be very triggering.
You said this last time, Nicolette. You said it again. Safe. Tell them they're safe.
Yes.
Which is, what we want to put our arms around our babies, even if they're big babies, put our arms around them. How do you have that? Like, because if you say, well, y'all are safe, everything's, and I'm not trying to press, but if you say you're safe and then the kid comes back and says, well, what about those kids, Right.
I'm sure their parents had that conversation with them too, that, you're safe. And honestly, mass shootings are a horrific tragedy in our society at this point. But it
is a rare thing.
But yes, it is rare. And you do just want to constantly remind them that I am here for you. I am your stability. I am your structure. I am your safety. I am your family. We're going to get through this together. So just that reassurance that safety is here and it is present. Now, we all hope to avoid a significant tragedy. I think there was even a mass shooting in Birmingham at a church.
Yeah.
And that was pretty close to home. But
and there's shooting. I mean, it's something I talk about on the show a bunch. There's, those are the acute situations, but there's there's chronic gun violence. It's just, you don't have to have some story from across the country. We have gun violence in our area, weekly.
Correct, and we can't control chronic gun violence at this point in our day-to-day lives. So I think encouraging your children and continuing to keep them at a level of their current functioning is what's most important. You want them to be successful in school. You want them to be successful in life. You don't want them to be overly anxious or worried. You don't want them to lose sleep. You don't want them to, to not venture out into the world, because that's what kids are made to do. So just those ongoing conversations, those reminders of, I'm here for you, what we're going to do. I'm worried too.
Right.
That normalizing feelings is a big thing. You want to always do that when you're talking to someone about their feelings. Listen, make sure they feel heard, normalize what they're feeling. I feel scared too. That's a good statement.
That's an okay thing to say?
It's a total okay thing to say.
Because I think a lot of parents have trouble navigating this. If I say I'm, worried about this too, then does that accelerate the issue? It's just like the first question I asked you about bringing it up. Because a lot of times parents are like, well, kids hadn't said anything, so we don't have to deal with that one.
Parenting is a huge portion of it is role modeling. So we want to role model how you respond to things. Hey, I'm scared too, but I recognize every day when I go to work that I'm going to be safe and okay. I'm going to use these deep breathing, techniques to calm down if I need them. I'm going to talk to a friend if I'm overly worried. If I'm worried about a mass shooting in my office, I'm going to go to my coworker and we're going to talk about, why it's okay and why we're safe.
Right.
I think anytime you can role model behaviors, how to handle difficult situations, from mass shootings all the way to being wrong in the house and apologizing, your kids benefit from it.
Apologizing?
Yeah, apologizing to your kids. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. That's you didn't say you were going to have uncomfortable subjects here.
Right? I didn't say your spouse. I said your kids.
Yeah, that's right. Correct. We'll get that specific. Okay. And the other thing me thinking about it is you do have to address it, because even if there's no way, you said at the beginning that they're inundated with media, because if you say, well, they don't watch the news, we're in there watching, whether they hear about it at school or on social media, they know these things happen. There's no way to insulate them from
anything anymore.
Yeah,
it's not like we were growing up back in the day, and if you didn't watch the 6 o'clock news, you didn't know what happened.
Had no idea.
We have TikTok, we have Snapchat, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, Meta. The whole world is in touch at this point. So
and it's worrisome too that if you're looking at TikTok or some other platform, as teenagers, maybe children too, you want to model yourself maybe around your peers. So if there's somebody out there reacting in some way that maybe that child normally wouldn't react. Not saying it's wrong or right. It's just not there. They see that, and I wonder if that gets into the psyche and like, oh, well, this person was at this level of 10 on this thing, so I should be at least an 8.
Yeah, I think that everyone is easily influenced by social media at this point. We can all agree that it's had, its negative and positive influences on society as a whole. But yes, 100%. Children are, especially those over 13, they're way more easily influenced by their peers and their parents. That's the age where you didn't realize how little you knew, until your kid told you, till your 16-year-old was like,
I've had a whole,
So I think that it is important to continue to have ongoing conversation, ongoing dialogue about all things in their life. So when things like this come up, you already have some money in the bank,
Right. Well said. Yeah. And let this not have to be the first time you address anything with them.
Correct. You don't want to. You want to always be having those hard conversations, because you're the parent. You're the shepherd for the flock. It's your responsibility to guide and direct them. Now, if you're not doing it, I guarantee you there's a TikToker out there or a peer out there that's going to take ownership of that for you.
Well said. That's a wake-up call for a lot of us. Final question here. Somebody professional has been doing it like you. You pick up children from school, you're heading home. How was your day? It's fine. How do you deal with that, Nicolette? It was fine. It's okay.
I get the fine too. Trust me. Okay. It was fine. What'd you do? Fine. Try to be specific, and that's what I do. Well, did anybody in your class say anything funny today? Did the teacher say somebody did a good job? What do you feel like you did the best at today? Tell me one thing you learned today. And if nothing else fails, I always ask about food. So what do you have for lunch? Get
specific with the questions.
Get specific with the questions. And the same with, and I use Pokemon as a reference because I'm looking at Pokemon cards all the time at my house lately. But
there's probably still some under the floorboards of my truck out there, yes.
When he brings the card to you, go, well, tell me what you like most about that Pokemon. Or, oh, look at, what do you think about those colors? The more you can engage them early on, the better they're going to be at talking to you and giving you more details.
And you've given us good tools to talk to our children about this and teenagers. But if we need a little extra help and we have a child or a teenager that needs that help, how do we get in touch with you? I mean, is it, you walk in the front door? Can you go online? What do you do?
You could do any of those things, but AltaPointe as a whole is a great continuum that has a lot of mental health services for children and adults in our community. So you can reach out to our Access to Care hotline, which is 450-2211. We also have Bay Point Children's Hospital that is available to the community, which is a really unique inpatient psychiatric program if things get to the point where you and your family need that level of care. So we're happy to assist.
They can call that number, though, and find out what's kind of right for them at that point?
Yes, and they will direct you into what level of services are most appropriate for you and your family.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Nicolette Harvey with AltaPointe, and this is Midday Mobile.